Batwoman, Kane. Kate Kane's life was built on discipline and legacy. Born into Gotham's wealthy Kane family and a cousin to Bruce Wayne, she followed her father's military path and rose through West Point. That career ended abruptly when she was expelled under "Don't Ask, Don't Tell." Stripped of the future she trained for, Kate chose another uniform. She built herself into Batwoman, a soldier turned vigilante operating on Gotham streets. Her arrival in 2006 was a milestone in comics. Batwoman was introduced as one of the first openly gay superheroes in DC's main continuity, and her storylines leaned into that reality. Readers saw her personal life and relationships treated with the same weight as her battles in Gotham. For many, this marked a turning point in how representation was handled in mainstream comics. Kate's war in Gotham became more personal when her twin sister Beth resurfaced as the villain Alice, a deranged leader with an army of followers. Their battles layered family tragedy on top of her crime-fighting mission, giving Batwoman one of the most intimate rivalries in the city. In the field, Batwoman was never just another member of the Bat family. She ran her own operations, relied heavily on military tactics, and often carried gear and weapons that Bruce avoided. Her independence caused tension with Batman, but it also allowed her to form her own identity in a city crowded with masks. She stands as both a symbol and a fighter. She expanded the idea of what a Gotham hero could be: rigidly trained, deeply personal, and carrying a cultural impact that reached far beyond the page. Red Hood. His story is one of the wildest chapters in Gotham's history. When Dick Grayson moved on from the Robin mantle, Batman found Jason, a street kid who grew up tough and reckless. He became the second Robin in the 1980s, and from the start, readers were divided. Jason was brash, impulsive, and carried an edge that made him far less likable than his predecessor. That division reached its peak in 1988 with the storyline A Death in the Family. DC gave fans an unprecedented choice: call one phone number to save Jason or another to let him die. Thousands of fans picked up their phones, and the result sealed his fate. In the story, the Joker brutally beat Jason with a crowbar and left him in a warehouse that exploded. The panel of Batman cradling Jason's lifeless body became one of the most famous images in comic book history. For years, Jason stayed dead, a reminder of Batman's greatest failure. But comics rarely leave graves undisturbed. In 2005's Under the Hood, Jason returned, resurrected by the Lazarus Pit and remade as the Red Hood. His second life was fueled by anger. Unlike Bruce, Jason had no problem killing criminals, and his war on Gotham's underworld became a challenge to Batman's entire philosophy. He went from being the most hated Robin to one of the most complex figures in Gotham. Fans who once voted for his death now follow him closely as Red Hood, fascinated by his struggle to balance vengeance with loyalty to the Bat family. Nightwing, Dick Grayson. Before Gotham had a Bat family, it had a boy on the trapeze. Dick Grayson was part of the Flying Graysons, a circus act that ended in tragedy when mobsters sabotaged the trapeze ropes and killed his parents. Bruce Wayne saw himself in the orphaned boy and took him in, not only as a ward, but as his first partner in crime fighting. That's how Robin was born, the original sidekick who set the standard for everyone that followed. As Robin, Dick balanced Bruce's grim methods with acrobatics and a brighter personality. But growing up under Batman's shadow meant eventually carving out his own identity. In the 1980s, he stepped away from Robin and re-emerged as Nightwing, debuting first in Tales of the Teen Titans. Nightwing became a leader, not a sidekick, guiding the Titans and establishing himself as one of DC's most dependable heroes outside of Gotham. His relationship with Batman was complicated, loyal, but often strained. Dick disagreed with Bruce's obsession with control, and the tension pushed him to build a life in Bloodhaven, Gotham's darker neighbor. There, he fought his own rogues and shaped a new reputation. Yet no matter where he operated, Dick was always Gotham's first son. Nightwing has worn the cowl more than once when Bruce was absent, but he never stayed in it. His place in Gotham's history is unique. The first partner who grew beyond the role, a hero capable of leading entire generations. Whether as Robin, Titan, or Nightwing, Dick Grayson proved that stepping out of the shadow of the Bat didn't mean leaving Gotham behind. It meant expanding what a Gotham hero could be. Bluebird Harper Row. She grew up in Gotham's alleys, fixing what was broken. A gifted engineer from a rough neighborhood, she kept her little brother Cullen safe while learning to hack, wire, and repair just about anything. That skill set caught Batman's attention in Batman number 7, 2012, when Harper saved him by disabling one of the Court of Owl's electrified traps. Unlike the traditional sidekicks Bruce usually trained, Harper built herself into a vigilante. She designed her own suit and gear, armed with electrified weaponry, tasers, and modified tech she pieced together from scraps. She chose the name Bluebird, and her Her style stood out in Gotham because she wasn't molded by Batman. She carved her own space in the war on crime. Her storylines often put family at the center. Protecting Cullen was her first mission, and her bond with him grounded her choices in a city full of masks. While Batman respected her independence, it was Stephanie Brown, spoiler, who became her closest ally. The two formed one of Gotham's most underrated partnerships, operating together while still managing their personal struggles. Her run in Gotham Comics wasn't long compared to other vigilantes, but her impact was different. She represented a modern take on what a Gotham hero could look like. Not a soldier, not a legacy sidekick, but ordinary young woman who turned her intelligence into a weapon. The Question, Renee Montoya. She was introduced in Batman, the animated series, before crossing into the comics in the early 1990s. On the force, she stood out for her integrity at a time when Gotham's police department was drowning in corruption. That honesty came with consequences. She was repeatedly targeted by gangsters, by dirty cops, and eventually by Two-Face, who outed her sexuality to the world. Her life unraveled. Her career collapsed. Her family turned away from her, and her faith in the badge evaporated. The lowest point came in Gotham Central Half a Life, where her personal battles became the centerpiece of one of DC's most acclaimed storylines. What followed changed her path forever. When the original Question, Vic Sage, fell to lung cancer in 2006, he passed his mantle to Renee. She became the faceless vigilante, armed with a mask treated by pseudoderm chemicals and a mission to pursue corruption wherever it lived. No superpowers, no legacy training, just grit, detective instincts, and an uncompromising sense of justice. As the Question, she operated in Gotham but never limited herself to one city. She exposed conspiracies, hunted down secrets, and confronted threats that blurred the line between street crime and global intrigue. Her identity as a queer Latina hero made her one of the most significant characters in DC's modern era, embodying representation at a time when Gotham badly needed different voices. The Spectre. First appearing in Detective Comics number 742, 2000, he was introduced as a transfer to the Gotham City Police Department, one of the few honest detectives working under Commissioner Gordon. His reputation for integrity made him a central figure in the acclaimed Gotham Central series, where readers saw Gotham through the eyes of cops, not capes. That integrity came at a cost. During an investigation, he discovered evidence of police corruption tied to Detective Jim Corrigan. Before he could act, Corrigan murdered him, executing one of Gotham's last good cops in cold blood. It was a brutal and defining end for the character, but his story didn't stop at death. In Infinite Crisis 2006, the Spirit of Vengeance, the Spectre, needed a new host after parting ways with Hal Jordan. Crispus was chosen. Suddenly, the man who had lived by the letter of the law was forced to embody divine judgment. As the Spectre, he wielded near-limitless power, punishing the guilty with biblical fury, reshaping reality into their punishment. The transformation added a chilling layer to Gotham's history. Crispus Allen was no longer a detective walking precinct halls. He became something terrifying, a figure who judged sins with no court and no appeal. Readers saw the conflict inside him, a man trained to believe in process now carrying out instant cosmic vengeance. Gotham Girl, Claire Clover. She entered Batman's world in Batman #1, 2016, during Tom King's Rebirth run. Alongside her twin brother Hank, known as Gotham, she gained Superman-level powers through an experimental process tied to Hugo Strange and Psycho Pirate. On paper, the Clover twins were exactly what Gotham City never had, near-invincible defenders capable of stopping threats that even Batman struggled against. But there was a catch. Every time Claire or Hank used their powers, it drained their life. The more they fought, the closer they came to dying. That built-in countdown made every victory feel like a step toward tragedy. Hank burned out first, his mind warped, leaving Claire alone to carry the weight. Batman took her under his wing, offering guidance, but Gotham Girl's story only grew heavier. She joined the Justice League briefly, but her mental state faltered under the trauma of losing her brother. The promise of being Gotham's first true superhero turned into a cycle of grief, therapy, and dangerous reliance on her powers. One of her defining arcs came in City of Bane, 2019, where her fragile loyalty was tested. She was manipulated into fighting against Batman, a moment that showed how unstable her path had become. Still, her resilience shone through. She wanted to be a hero even when the cost was unbearable. Her place in the city is tragic and symbolic. She represented what Gotham might look like with a Superman of its own. Yet her story proved the city consumes even its brightest hopes. Every fight she takes shortens her future, making her one of the most bittersweet additions to Batman's extended family. Catwoman, Selina Kyle. Making her first appearance in Batman #1, 1940, she began as a jewel thief known simply as the Cat. Over decades, she grew into something more complex, a burglar, an anti-hero, and occasionally one of Batman's closest allies. Her skill set made her legendary, master thief, unmatched gymnast, expert in hand-to-hand combat, and a woman who could slip past Gotham's police and capes alike. Her identity has often revolved around survival. Raised in Gotham's crime-ridden neighborhoods, she learned early how to fend for herself. That background shaped her career not just as a thief, but as someone unwilling to play by rules that never protected her. She carved out her reputation with leather, a whip, and the confidence to break into anywhere she pleased. Her relationship with Batman became one of Gotham's longest-running stories. From rooftop flirtations to team-ups against bigger threats, she has been both rival and partner. Their bond reached its peak in the Batman 2016 Rebirth run, where Bruce proposed to her and the wedding became one of the most talked-about comic events in years. The marriage didn't happen, but it highlighted just how much Catwoman blurred the line between Gotham's underworld and its vigilantes. Beyond romance, she has also led her own crime families, protected East End neighborhoods, and clashed with Gotham's biggest players when it suited her. She isn't defined by Batman. Her legacy is that of Gotham's wild card. Sometimes she's pulling off heists, other times she's saving lives. Always unpredictable, always in control of her own story. Harley Quinn. She didn't begin in the comics. She debuted in Batman, the animated series, in 1992. Created by Paul Dini and Bruce Timm, she was intended as a one-off character, the quirky sidekick to the Joker. Audiences connected instantly, and within a few years she crossed into the comics in The Batman Adventures number 12, 1993. What started as an experiment quickly turned into one of Gotham's most recognizable figures. Her background was tied to her work at Arkham Asylum. Dr. Harleen Quinzel, a psychiatrist, was assigned to treat the Joker and ended up falling under his manipulation. That obsession drove her to abandon her profession, adopt her clown persona, and join him in a cycle of chaotic schemes across Gotham. Over time, she became more than an extension of the Joker. Writers developed her as a character capable of standing apart. She built friendships with Poison Ivy, forming a duo that became one of DC's most popular partnerships. Modern stories gave her independence, showing her as a chaotic anti-hero, just as likely to protect Gotham's neighborhoods as she was to rob a bank. Her rise is one of the biggest success stories in comic history. From animated origins to headlining solo comics, live-action films, and video games, she has grown into a global icon. Margot Robbie's portrayal in the Suicide Squad films and Birds of Prey pushed her popularity even further, cementing her as a cultural force well beyond the page. In Gotham's lineup of other heroes, she occupies a unique spot. She's unpredictable, wildly entertaining, and constantly evolving. What began as a supporting role has turned into a career that few comic characters can match. Clayface, Basil Karlo. He was introduced way back in Detective Comics number 40, 1940. At first, he wasn't a shape-shifting powerhouse, but a horror movie actor driven mad when he learned a classic film he starred in was being remade without him. Over the years, he evolved into one of Gotham's most dangerous villains. With the ability to shapeshift, mimic voices, and transform his body into weapons or monstrous forms, he became an almost unstoppable foe. But in recent years, his story took a sharp turn. In James Tynion IV's Detective Comics run, 2016 to 2018, Batman brought Clayface into his team of Gotham vigilantes. Instead of being treated like a monster, he was given a chance to channel his powers toward helping others. He worked alongside Batwoman, Orphan, Spoiler, and others, fighting to prove that he could control the violent impulses tied to his condition. This redemption arc made Clayface one of Gotham's most tragic other heroes. He wanted to be accepted, to use his abilities for something greater than crime. For a time, he was even a fan favorite on the Bat Team, showing loyalty and unexpected heart. But the struggle with his unstable clay form never went away. During a mission against the Victim Syndicate, he lost control of his powers and grew into a gigantic, destructive version of himself. The only way to stop him was through Batwoman, who used a specialized weapon that killed him. His attempt at redemption is remembered as one of Gotham's most heartbreaking arcs. He showed that even the city's most terrifying villains could seek change, but Gotham rarely offers clean second chances. Orpheus, Gavin King. He grew up in New York, found success as an international musician, and then made a choice that few would have expected. He walked away from stardom to become a vigilante. Trained in martial arts overseas, he returned to the US with a mission to make a difference, and he picked Gotham as his battlefield. Taking the name Orpheus, he became one of the city's most overlooked crime fighters. Orpheus first appeared in Batman, Orpheus Rising #1, 2001. Unlike many vigilantes, his goal wasn't to work alone in the shadows. He wanted to clean up Gotham's streets and connect with its neglected communities. His presence presence was striking, African-American hero who dressed in sleek, tech-enhanced armor and carried himself with a sense of discipline shaped by both music and martial training. Batman eventually saw his potential and brought him into the network of allies. But Orpheus's story ended in tragedy. During the massive War Games crossover in 2004, he was sent undercover to broker peace with Gotham's gangs. The plan collapsed when Black Mask ambushed him. Orpheus was murdered, his body mutilated, and Black Mask disguised himself as Orpheus to manipulate the chaos even further. His death sparked the gang war that tore Gotham apart in that storyline, making Orpheus's presence both pivotal and painfully short-lived. Unlike the Bat family's biggest names, he didn't get decades of continuity or constant reinventions. His story remains frozen as a cautionary story of Gotham's brutality, where even promising heroes can be erased in a single act of violence. Onyx Adams. She entered DC Comics in Richard Dragon, Kung Fu Fighter number 18, 1977, long before she crossed paths with Batman. Originally a member of the League of Assassins, she rejected their methods and broke away, carving her own path as a fighter who wanted to use her skills for something greater than killing. That decision put her on Gotham's streets, where she became one of the few vigilantes operating outside the shadow of the Bat family. Her reputation grew from her combat training. She was a martial artist capable of holding her own against some of the best in DC, and her history with the League gave her an edge against organized killers who threatened the city. She wasn't defined by gadgets or theatrics. Her strength was discipline, hand-to-hand skill, and the willingness to stand in places where bigger names rarely looked. Her most notable Gotham storyline came during the War Games crossover in 2004. As the city erupted into gang violence, Onyx aligned herself with Batman and his allies, bringing her experience to the front line. Her presence during that crisis underscored her role as a street-level fighter who could adapt quickly to chaos, helping hold the line when Gotham spiraled. She later became a mentor to younger vigilantes, including Cassandra Kane. Her ability to move between worlds, League-trained assassin, Gotham protector, and teacher, made her one of the city's most versatile other heroes. While she never reached the same level of fame as Huntress or Batwoman, her appearances always added grit and credibility to the storylines she touched. Huntress Helena Bertinelli. Her story began in Huntress number 1, 1989, and it's one of Gotham's darkest origin tales. She was born into one of Gotham's most feared mafia families. Her childhood ended in blood when rival mobsters assassinated her parents in front of her. That massacre turned Helena's life into a crusade. Instead of inheriting her family's empire, she declared war on it, training herself to take down organized crime with crossbows and brutal efficiency. From the beginning, she was a vigilante who pushed Gotham's boundaries. She wore no bat symbol, worked alone, and carried an edge that set her apart. Her methods often brought her into conflict with Batman, who saw her tactics as reckless and her temper as dangerous. Still, her results were undeniable. Helena carved out her role as Gotham's answer to mob violence, striking fear into the same underworld that once raised her. Her reputation grew through major storylines like No Man's Land, 1999, where she defended Gotham's crumbling districts when the city was cut off from the outside world. In that arc, she temporarily took on the mantle of Batgirl, showing her commitment to Gotham even as Batman questioned her. Later, she became a key member of the Birds of Prey alongside Oracle and Black Canary, proving she could operate as part of a team while still keeping her edge. Her character has endured because she embodies Gotham's constant tension between justice and vengeance. She isn't bound by Batman's rules, and her mafia heritage makes her one of the most personal voices in the city's war on crime. Azrael, Jean-Paul Valley. Introduced in Batman Sword of Azrael number 1, 1992, he was raised by the secretive order of Saint Dumas, a religious sect that trained assassins through genetic engineering and psychological conditioning. He grew up unaware of this programming until it was triggered in adulthood, turning him into Azrael, a lethal enforcer wielding flaming blades and advanced combat training. Batman eventually crossed paths with Valley and brought him into Gotham's network of allies. But his most infamous moment came during the Nightfall saga, 1993 to 1994. After Bane broke Bruce Wayne's back, he was chosen to take over as Batman. At first, he fought Gotham's criminals effectively, but his conditioning and obsession with absolute control twisted his version of the mantle. He designed a new armored bat suit bristling with weaponry and operated with a ruthlessness Bruce never allowed. This escalation alienated Gotham's allies. Robin and Nightwing clashed with him, and his increasingly violent methods pushed the city into deeper fear. The breaking point arrived when Bruce returned, healed and ready to reclaim his identity. The two faced off, and Bruce ultimately defeated defeated Jean-Paul, forcing him to give up the cowl. He didn't vanish after Nightfall. He starred in his own solo series, where writers explored his struggle with free will, faith, and the programming that shaped him. At times, he sought redemption, working alongside Batman again, but his legacy in Gotham is defined by the question of what happens when the wrong person wears the symbol. And that's it. Now to you, what do you think? If Batman vanished tomorrow, which of these heroes would you trust to carry Gotham on their shoulders? And which one would drive the city even deeper into chaos? Comment down below, leave a like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for more amazing videos like this one.